Hello and welcome to another Insight Tech Talks. I'm Jillian Sloan and I'm joined today by Paul Harrold, Director of Services for Insight Connected Workforce, and Joe Flynn, Director of Technical Architecture for Insight Connected Workforce. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
It's
having
nice
us
to
today.
have you here today. Yeah, it's nice to see you. And by see you, I mean, virtually see you. This is
Virtually.
our new world, right? It's all about collaboration and digital connectivity.
Exactly.
Big topic of the day. So let's talk about that. Joe, or excuse me, Paul, I'm going to start with you actually. When clients had to make that shift immediately over to a remote workforce, what do you think the biggest challenge is? What did you hear that that clients were really, struggling with in that initial transition?
Great question, and one that we hear all the time. Really, the biggest challenge that we've seen as an organization is our customers dealing with on-premise solutions that don't reach well outside of the office. Again, it's either a lack of features or potentially very limited features as they try to exit the brick and mortar type of facility and then work from home or work from any other location. We saw challenges with security concerns from the IT staff. User adoption was another area where, again, people were using the very basics of some of these collaboration tools within their offices because they had the luxury to walk down the hall and have a conversation with somebody or grab something off the copier and walk it down and hand it to them. They've really been forced to adopt these tools and use them really to the fullest extent so that they can maintain business continuity moving forward. Another area that everyone had to all of a sudden pick up from their office environments and move home with the expectation that we still want to do the same level of work and reach our customers, customer satisfaction, et cetera. So, we did see our users having some hardware challenges as they moved into a home environment, potentially not having, a laptop with ample processing power, maybe not having the video endpoints so they had clear video with one another. And then we've all felt it as we have our families home dealing with internet and or bandwidth challenges.
Yep.
Kids want to watch the Netflix and somebody else
right.
is playing a game and, we're trying to work and be on video. So some of those challenges as well. And then really from the home environment, maybe just not having the workspace or that office space, to sit and have a quiet conversation with a good background and so on. So those are some of the biggest challenges that we've seen.
Yeah, and we've heard a lot about different platforms from the beginning, right? Zoom, Slack, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx. I mean, how has the conversation about collaboration tools changed in the last several months?
Well, COVID-19, this pandemic has really pushed the collaboration discussion, not only for the customers, but really for the manufacturers, to the forefront. The need for the workforce to be remote, whether that be work from home or really work from any location, and still have, again, the audio and the telephony portions, meetings and videos, the content sharing, the chat, the document management, so on. Everybody, was forced into having to utilize those tools. So while we had user adoption and some challenges there with people feeling comfortable with using all of those tools, we saw the manufacturers come out with security enhancements. We saw them come out with new features, new functionality, some new interfaces in certain cases, and we saw triple digit percentages increase in some of the meeting minutes and meetings per day, since COVID hit.
Yeah, that's for sure. Joe, I think it's safe to assume by now that every company, or at least most companies, have made significant investments in collaboration solutions. Do you have any insight about, how companies are handling the adoption? Because we were pretty set off. We already had, a couple of solution tools at Insight, but that wasn't necessarily the case for all companies. So how's the adoption process been going for other companies?
Yeah, I mean, even at Insight, there's adoption opportunities, and I think other companies are seeing that too. As we see, like Paul mentioned, the amount of meeting minutes is up in sometimes the billions per day. We see users are now remote, so they're starting to leverage these collaboration tools much more because it's a way to interact with people. It's a way to engage with people. But what we find is they're using the very basics of these collaboration tools. They're using instant messaging. They're using voice and video. They're not leveraging the fact that they can co-author documents instead of sending them an email. So from an adoption perspective, there's still a lot of opportunity that companies can get because they're paying for these tools, right? Whether it's a Zoom, a Cisco, a Microsoft, these tools aren't cheap. And when you talk about Some companies can range from 20, 50 users up to a couple 100,000 users. They want to get the value of what they're buying for these licenses. So definitely there's an adoption plan that needs to be discovered within the company on a process. And then obviously Insight has the capabilities that can assist with that. But the more they help adopt, the more their users will engage, the better their end user experience will be, especially from a remote workforce.
Yeah, there's a reason we're not just calling each other on our cell phones.
Exactly.
We're working together on stuff.
Right.
So based on that, particularly with, you've talked about the new tools that these platforms are rolling out, greater collaboration, we're doing more than just texting and chatting, we're actually co-authoring documents. How do you think that organizations are now kind of reevaluating that remote work experience? And, what does that mean for the future of the workforce?
So in my eyes, in my opinion, let's say, I think companies are going to stick. You're going to see a lot of companies shift more towards a remote workforce. We've talked to companies daily that say, look, prior to COVID-19, we've never even imagined we could work remote. Now that we're forced to, we shifted our business processes. We made some adjustments to how we handle our internal IT support, but users are now able to do their jobs at home. In fact, they're probably saving money with having users at home. If you think from a real estate perspective, the more they can have users shift to work from home, users have a better work-life experience. They're probably more productive because they're not sitting sometimes 45 minutes to an hour and a half on the road commuting back and forth to work. And then from a company perspective, they can decrease how much office space they have, whether you're paying for air conditioning, lights, electricity, all of that factors in. So the benefit of remote work, I think, is no doubt here to stay long-term. It's just how companies are going to shift their IT and their support processes where it's going to be successful or not.
Yeah, I'd be honest with you, I filled up my gas tank maybe 2 times in the last 3 months, so I'm feeling those savings. Maybe the AC bill's a little bit higher, but Paul, this is over to you. When we start to head into Q3 and eventually into 2021, what do you think is going to be the top priority for our clients? And do you foresee any other big changes happening to these collaboration tools, even just to make, the collaboration even more seamless and move away from just the simple text messaging and even email? My gosh, if I could get less emails, that would be so fantastic. So what do you foresee happening in the coming months and year?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of different things there. And I think from the manufacturer side, we're going to continue to see evolution of some of their feature sets. We're going to see new feature sets coming out. They're really listening to the remote workforce on feedback as to, how can we enhance the experience, and, how can we make you more productive in your remote work environment. So I think we're going to continue to see that. We're starting to see an awful lot right now. Different manufacturers are starting to come together to come up with almost a best of breed solution, if you will. So where somebody may have a weakness, for example, there may be somebody else who could complement that, and we're seeing a little bit more interoperability between some of these manufacturers that we just really hadn't seen before. So I think with that effort from the manufacturers, our experience as remote workers is going to be even better. Joe touched on the evaluation of things like real estate. Do we need these office spaces? Do we need to put people on airplanes and have them travel? There's the work-life balance aspect of it. There's quality of life. But then, if we can pull some of that budget back in from real estate costs and operational costs in a work environment and travel, there should be more dollars and cents to be able to allocate over to our IT budgets to continue to improve this work from home experience or remote work experience. And lastly, I'd say security is going to be a very big piece to this. You can't talk collaboration without talking about security. Now that people are moving out of the office environment into a home environment initially, but then as we start to get out into work from anywhere, people will walk into a Starbucks and connect to Wi-Fi there, and they're going to be sending data. IT organizations in their IT departments have to secure that data and protect their intellectual property.
Yeah, Joe, what about you? What do you think's going to come?
No, I think he nailed it. I mean, we see companies like the Zooms, the Microsoft, the Cisco's of the world. You see more conversation about integration across products, right? Because they know there's the best of breed, certain based on what customers pay. They're going to drive their users to leverage what they're investing in, right? So the integration points, I think, are key for a lot of these vendors. And again, it's the required versus needed features you're going to see start driving. I think a lot of the required features are there, and it's going to be what needed features are there to increase the end user experience from a remote standpoint. I mean, Paul said it initially, like when you're working from home, low bandwidth, where you're working, you can blur the backgrounds. These are features that as we start working remote, whether we're in a Starbucks, whether we're at home, whether we're in a hotel, they're needed. Like they're now turning into more required because you don't want to be talking to someone who's sitting in their bedroom with an unmade bed behind them. You'd rather them use the green screen capability and make it go away. So you're going to see a lot of those type of features where it's just going to more enhance the experience overall, I think, which is nice.
It's always the simple things that somehow are the best solutions, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, I think it's fair to say this conversation is far from over. We're going to be talking about the future of work for months and months to come. Do you guys have any final thoughts here or any advice to clients that are still kind of grappling with how to best enable a remote workforce?
My take would be just to embrace the technology and don't be scared of the technology. I think as we've seen people shift initially, people didn't want to turn their video cameras on, or people were afraid to use the tools, outside of their comfort level. And, over the course of the last 3 to 4 months, we've seen a pretty major evolution in people's willingness to adopt the tools, to use the tools and start to maximize the tools. And we're going to find ourselves here in a position where people are so comfortable with these tools, they're going to want, as Joe mentioned, additional enhancements, additional features brought in just to make their work from anywhere experience that much better.
Yeah. Joe, any closing thoughts from you?
And I like what he said. And customers need to take it from a top-down approach. Keep in mind, we've seen video increase drastically since COVID-19 started. And many people in my age group, I'll use me as an example, are probably not the most comfortable with video, where if I take it to my daughters, they probably live on video 24/7. But if we handle it from a top-down approach where the leaders are promoting video, promoting the interaction, promoting the collaboration, and understanding, companies have to understand it's no longer just voice and video we're talking about. It's the data, it's co-authoring. Like you said, Jillian, it's getting out of email. Getting in a tool where you can collaborate real time instead of having to send an email and wait for something to come back. But again, a top-down approach has to be driven. Otherwise, users are just not going to think everyone's bought in on it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you are looking for remote workforce enablement solutions or just tools to help your remote workforce work better, you can find all those resources available on insight.com. Thank you again for joining us for another edition of Insight Tech Talks. Gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan.